If you listen closely, you'll probably hear several keyboards on the verge of destruction right now. How could I be so monstrous to put Big Mom above the likes of CP9 and dare to put her in the top 5? Allow me to answer your questions with questions of my own. Is Big Mom from one of the most divisive arcs in One Piece? Yes. Do I have several problems with that arc that center around convenience, lazy characters, and a bad execution to develop a main character? Yes. But even though I have several problems with an arc, that doesn't automatically mean its respective villain is bad as well. Just look at Dressrosa. It is infamous for its problems with pacing, story structure, and cramming a ton of new characters in that either have backstories worth your time, or they're as one-dimensional as a Vinsmoke brother. But despite all that, we got Doflamingo, and that case applies here. The Whole Cake arc may be divisive, but at least the pirate known as Big Mom has lived up to her title of Yonko, and is generally agreed upon that she is a good villain. You hear that, One World? I finally admitted it. Please come to the office to pick up your W. And that is in no way a plot to get you to come back into the spotlight again. Now, when Big Mom was first revealed, there was a time period where many were concerned. Oh, a woman pirate that's obsessed with candy? This is orthodox of the most I bet it would only take one con gun to knock that fatso down, and then we could all laugh at her. At least the weakest Yonko will be beaten in this arc, so we can finally move on to the real show. You know, because she's a woman. Thankfully, as time went by, those opinions were erased as we got to actually know Big Mom. Charlotte Linlin was abandoned at Elbaf by her parents at an extremely young age because she was already a monster that could not be controlled. She was obsessed with food, and that led to numerous tragedies. However, she was cared for and taught by the greatest role model in our time, Mother Caramel. A Catholic stereotype that claims to care for all around her, but of course, has a dark secret that is usually linked to the destruction of children's lives. Charlotte looked up to Mother Caramel as she never really had someone that could look past her flaws, show forgiveness, and learn to be a better person. But all was not meant to be. Somehow, someway, Charlotte made Mother Caramel and her peers vanish without a trace, and was forced to leave Elbaf as the giants cursed her and swore never to say her name again. Charlotte was left on her own, but she also somehow took Mother Caramel's devil fruit power, the Soro Soro no Mi. And just like Whole Cake itself, this fruit is ridiculous. It can extract souls of the target show's sphere and can place souls in practically anything so it can come alive. I'm not sure why Big Mom thought it would be a good idea to give souls to simple things like flowers and cannonballs, but at least they have a purpose in disturbing musical numbers and being an homage to early cartoons. But Big Mom can use her devil fruit for combat too. She has her own personal sun, a storm cloud, and a talking hat that can give her swords. Oh, and there was that one time where she gave part of an ocean a soul. You know, the one thing that can make anyone have a shot against Big Mom, well, not have a shot against? She can literally manipulate the lone weakness of all devil fruit users to her will. That's even more dangerous than fellow Yonko Whitebeard's feetless tsunamis. Sure, he could cause them, but never control. And I think that one word best defines Big Mom: control. In her territory, there is no one that dares to defy her. Every single person in her crew shows absolute loyalty, and the entirety of Whole Cake's people shows that too. This isn't a case like Wapple, where the right to rule was taken, but it was met with resistance. This isn't like Crocodile, where there was a plan to take over a country. And this isn't even like Doflamingo, where his country was a paradise, but it was only thanks to a dark conspiracy and slaves. For Big Mom, she is the Queen Absolute, and that kind of figurative power is also on the same level as her physical capabilities. Even though she's 68, no one can possibly wound her. That only works if she takes extreme emotional damage, which even then is rare thanks to her crew, the defenses around the one thing that can make her vulnerable, and unstoppable hunger tantrums. And her physical ability is not to be underestimated. Remember when I said that there were concerns about Big Mom, specifically this part? I bet it would only take one con gun to knock that fatso down, and then we could all laugh at her. Well, Luffy does indeed use a con gun, and it does nothing. With a simple raise of her elbow, Big Mom casually blocked a blow that could do this. I'm sorry I keep comparing you to her. I promise your time will come soon enough. But it is hard to ignore comparisons to other villains. In the span of this arc, Big Mom has continually kept the Straw Hats in a corner, showing little to no hope for salvation. And when she herself enters the fray, she has never faltered. I think this image alone best defines Big Mom, as well as the Yonko in general. They are beings that defy all common imagination and show how insignificant those who challenge them are. There's a reason why it took the entire Navy to fight Whitebeard, and it appears that if any of the other Yonko made a move, similar actions would be taken. Big Mom, as well as her arc, shows us what facing a Yonko is like, and she is the perfect introduction to this concept as well as the rest of the series. This Witch of the Pirate World is one that should never be doubted.
This is a wake-up call to all the boring peace lovers, the half-assed pirates, the fat-headed fools in world government, the ignorant masses. We all must answer to the hand of fate. And fate has chosen me to conquer this world.
Darkness. No parents.
Still trying to kickstart that song being Blackbeard's official theme. Now, in terms of the story that deals with Luffy, Blackbeard is one of his oldest enemies. From his first appearance in Loguetown to now, Blackbeard has made rapid progression in his quest to stand at the top. But it didn't start that way. Through excellent writing, Oda introduces Blackbeard as a man very similar to Luffy, but still has a few differences. The two of them have a light-hearted and comical meet and greet, and only as time went by did we see a man slowly showing off his true colors as one of the deadliest pirates in the world. Marshal D. Teach joined Whitebeard's crew a long time ago and only stayed so that he could find the dark devil fruit. When Whitebeard's crew found it, Blackbeard killed a crewmate, his goal accomplished, and went on to start his master plan. With his devil fruit, Blackbeard would work through the ranks by finding a big enough bounty to be warlord, and when the time came, kill a Yonko and take its place in order to find One Piece. What makes him so unique is his similarity to Luffy. Both want to be Pirate King and both act similar in terms of ambition and pride. It's just that Blackbeard's plan got him further up the pecking order. His devil fruit also helps with that. It's a fruit that can negate the powers of other devil fruits and even has some cosmic elements to it. Like Magellan, it's a simple devil fruit, but it's one that should not be fought without a solid plan. The other factor that makes Blackbeard one of One Piece's best is his progression in power. He starts off with nothing but a fruit and a small crew, like Luffy. But after meeting with Ace, he starts a chain reaction that only benefited the future Yonko. By taking down Ace, Blackbeard earned warlord status. Using that status, he went to Impo Down to recruit the most dangerous criminals to his crew. With that crew, he went to Marineford to kill Whitebeard and take his power. And this is where Blackbeard should have peaked. He has two of the most powerful fruits in the series so far at his beck and call. But even that's not it! Blackbeard in 2 years assembles a fleet worthy of being called a Yonko, takes down the rest of Whitebeard's crew, and is now hunting powerful devil fruit users to kill in order to steal their powers. Blackbeard has done so many heinous things in the story that I can't properly take the time to explain each singular act of evil. I can only sum it up, and that's very impressive for a villain to do. His character and progression in the story is what sets him apart from all others. Also, his laugh doesn't hurt his chances. All of this is what makes him feared throughout the One Piece world. He's one of the only villains to have gone from a small-scale role to a worldwide threat. He even makes Shanks worry about the future of the world. So is there any flaw to him? If I had to nitpick, I wish his crew was developed as much as Blackbeard was. I can get that Oda is saving the crew until the right time and uses them sparingly, like with Burgess, but all I see right now is one of the strongest people in the world that has a group of pirates behind him. It's pretty much my problem with Arlong in terms of crew. Other than that, Blackbeard looks like he's going to be the series villain other than... We'll get to him. But that series villain role is a role that's well deserved.
Just like old times, huh? Did you miss me?
Ah yes, Crocodile was the first villain whose arc I saw entirely. And I loved every moment of it. Crocodile doesn't have a developed backstory, which really is his main reason he's down at number 3. But everything he does in the story resonated with the Straw Hats and us for years to come. Crocodile was one of the 7 warlords of the sea and was the first one to be fought against by Luffy. Through his organization and a few arcs before, Crocodile was slowly causing a civil war in Alabasta. During this civil war, Crocodile would then take advantage of the chaos to learn about the ancient weapon hidden in the kingdom and use it to rule the country without fail. Now, a long time ago, I said that if Kuro was more fleshed out and present with his tactics, he could be a formidable foe. If he wants to do that, he should study under Crocodile, because this man knew how to plan. He kept his identity secret, gained celebrity status in the country he planned to rule, secretly devastated the land with sandstorms, and his organization, whether people liked it or not, succeeded in their goal. They made a civil war under Crocodile's leadership that led to a lot of bloodshed, and Crocodile is one of the few villains that actually succeeded in his goal. Granted, he didn't find the ancient weapon thanks to Robin, but the fact remains, he made it. Throughout the arc, Crocodile is a sophisticated and powerful figure. And like any great villain I love, when he starts to get angry, he loses it in outstanding fashion. He's a callback to anime villains before him, but he still feels fresh, which is funny due to his devil fruit. Crocodile wields the sand fruit. He can manipulate sand, turn into sand, dehydrate living things, and even has a poison hook to use in close combat. But all of that isn't why he made number 3. The reason is because of his encounters with Luffy. Each fight they have is so satisfying to see regardless of the outcome. In their first battle, it's the first time in the series where Luffy loses flat out. This forces Luffy to fight seriously and has to prove his fighting genius only to lose again. And when it comes to the final battle, the two of them are just done with each other, leading to one of the most emotionally fueled and satisfying fights in the entire series. Crocodile for a while was the perfect contrast to Luffy. There was a time when my friends compared fights in not only One Piece, but other anime fights to Crocodile standards. And he even makes a comeback in Impel Down, not as a good guy, only as an ally to get out of the prison and to try to kill Whitebeard. Even when he saves Luffy from Akainu, he's not doing it to save Luffy, it's to spite the Marines. He's not the criminal mastermind anymore, he's just becoming an antagonist and is ready to move on to his next plan and achievement. He's a character that I can't imagine One Piece not having. He's that iconic. When I was coming up with this list and was reaching the top 10, I was thinking of the characters that One Piece needed, otherwise it wouldn't nearly be the story that I fell in love with. The first character that came to mind was, of course, Crocodile. Good job, you sandy bastard. You've done nothing but impress.
Gold Roger, the king of the pirates, and Dragon, the revolutionary. To think that the two of you were adopted brothers all these years. What a victory it'd be to end both bloodlines. Everyone else can escape. The two of you are the only targets I'm after. Say goodbye.
Oh boy. Oh joy. Akainu. Easily one of the most hated characters in all of anime. And the one reason why can be linked to this, but we'll get there soon enough. Akainu was the last of the admirals to be formally introduced in Part 1. Hell, he's the last villain to appear in Part 1 in general. After the government was impressed by his deeds in Marineford, Akainu was voted to be Fleet Admiral. Aokiji was against it, and it did not end well. With Akainu in charge of the Marines, he moved the base of operations to the New World, enforced a stricter law against pirates, and is now one of the most powerful people in the world, both in strength and rank. And with that, congratulations, you just learned everything about Akainu. Yep, that's all there is to him in terms of story. It's one of the shortest character stories in the series, so how the hell did Akainu make it to number 2? Because where he lacks in past development, he makes up for it in everything else. His design, simple yet fierce. His power, devastating. His accomplishments, some of the most memorable in the series. And his personality, brutal. Akainu exceeds due to his simplicity. He's not the most complex character because he doesn't need to be. He hates pirates and will do whatever he can to kill them at all costs. He never falters, he never compromises. If someone even thinks of avoiding a single law in his presence, you will literally burn for it. It's that kind of motivation, intimidation, and character that makes Akainu memorable. He's loud and arrogant, but in the good villain way. He has the guts to talk back to the Gorosei and will make sure that he stays on top of the pecking order. He also accomplishes this with his devil fruit, magma. Yeah, I think that's all I need to say really. It's magma, and the amount of attacks Akainu has with said magma is terrifying to go up against. Akainu is one of those characters that was made to be one of the most holy shit characters you see in a story. But again, that's not why Akainu made it to number 2. His contributions in Marineford made that accomplishment. Throughout the entire arc, Akainu slaughters the Whitebeard pirates by his hands and orders. And even though he's challenged by the commanders and others as a whole, he doesn't falter or show any sign of slowing down. He's a beast that you can only delay, the monster that you can only afford to take a few extra steps before you're slaughtered. He gets up from every attack that's given to him. Even when Whitebeard seemingly does him in one of the most emotionally fueled scenes in the series, he gets back up just so he can try to kill everyone again. It's his tenacity and motivation that got him the recognition and fear he deserves. And of course, let's not avoid the subject any longer, the death of Ace. After we got the perfect ending to an unbelievable arc, Oda throws in a curveball and has Akainu play Ace into attacking him. Ace falls for the ploy and pays with it for his life. You know, the thing everyone was sacrificing their lives for to protect? In a single fuck you moment, Akainu changed the One Piece story as we knew it. Every trope and prediction fans made was thrown out the window and then shot at. It's the most unexpected, dramatic, and tragic scene in the series so far. Why did I make that conclusion? Because that scene is still brought up today. The pain of Ace's loss still hangs with viewers to this day, and we have Akainu to thank for that. Combine with that everything else he brought to the One Piece world, and we have a villain that One Piece needed. He was a character that showed that the story didn't have to play nice or follow the same story structure as others. For that contribution, along with the overall monster he is, Akainu burns his way to the number 2 spot. Before we get to number 1, here are some honorable mentions in no set order. First up is Dracula Mihawk. He's not really a villain. He's an obstacle to Zoro and has tried to kill Luffy before, but he doesn't have an evil agenda. He's really one of the most honorable people in One Piece. He's not evil, he's just Zoro's final battle that likes to test his skill. There's also Katakuri, definitely a villain, but we haven't seen too much of him. And to be honest, I'm on the fence whether I actually like him or not. He's definitely more impressive than some of the other villains mentioned on my list, and he is making an impact on the fan base, but for me personally, I don't think there's enough substance. He's a walking hype machine, and all the good and bad things that come with it are on full display. I can see why people like him, and I want to like him too, but I don't know, still on the fence about that. Another candidate was Aokiji, but the same argument for Mihawk can be used for Aokiji as well. He's definitely not a protagonist like the main cast, but at the same time, he's not a real villain. His biggest villain accomplishment, if I can even call it that, was when he froze Luffy. But not only did Luffy ask for that fight, but it was supposed to show the power of the strongest Marines, an introduction to the concept that the Straw Hats would one day have to fight. And honestly, Aokiji's helped more than hindered, so he's not a true villain. Alvida was a little close to making the list. She made a nice impact for me at the start of One Piece, and while that can hold some weight, she really hasn't done much. The same thing can be said for Vanderdecken. He's interested and has a pretty awesome devil fruit, but his biggest crime aside from the Noah incident was being a creeper. Which I know can be a big deal to many, but in comparison to everyone else on the list, Decken is left out to dry. And there are also the movie villains. I know I stated at the start of this whole list that I would only include canon characters as numbered slots, but it would be a crime not to at least give them a mention. And really, there are 3 to talk about, Shiki, Z, and Tessero. Just to get it out of the way, Tessero is a Doflamingo knockoff with a poorly executed sob story that honestly makes me laugh at the amount of effort they did not put in his character. His movie might be a lot of fun, but his character has the same problem as Hody Jones in that he's a pale imitation of a much better villain that offers nothing new. Shiki is half and half for me. I like the idea that Shiki was a big deal and expands the past lore of the story, but the other half can't get into him. I like his design and he was rocking gravity before Fujitora came in, but I didn't find his motivation and character that compelling. He was a bad guy for the sake of being a bad guy. I get why people like him, but I really wasn't head over heels for him. Now Z though, I'll be honest, if I could, he'd be in the top 5. His backstory is one that we can all relate to. Like Shiki, he expands the lore of the story in terms of the Marines. His character is complex, he's not an over-the-top movie villain, but rather a simple powerhouse that has excellent fight scenes with Luffy. Everything about him is solid. Not perfect, but definitely solid. Now all that being said, let's get to the moment you've all been waiting for.
The beginning is upon us. I suggest you prepare. We're drawing close to a new world in which only true pirates can survive. The weak should run while they still can, or be swept away by the tides of time as they roll back to reveal a new era of champions.
You knew he was going to be up here. All the times I talked about him, all the times I praised him. It all kind of led up to this moment. Doflamingo for me is the greatest One Piece villain. And honestly, I don't see that changing anytime soon. How did this man make it to the top? To give the simplest answer, he's a complete character. What do I mean by that? He's the only villain, aside from filler, that has a beginning, middle, and end. We see Doflamingo's childhood, we see his time as a small-scale pirate, we see him at his mightiest, and we see him at his worst. He is a character that we, the audience, fully understand. He steals the show every time he appears, and that's a feat that few others have accomplished. Also, all the requirements I made for this list, Doflamingo exceeds each of them. First up, design. It's full of color, life, and yet has a layer of simplicity. Doflamingo's posture, which looks like he's trying to be a member of Team Skull, is strangely iconic for the series. And of course, we can't ignore it. Yes, the sunglasses, the stuff of legends. Some say that these glasses are made from the hardest of materials known to mankind and are powered by the squeals of fangirls, specifically from this source. And on Doflamingo, he stands out from the crowd. Next up is power, which like Dofi, was the biggest mystery until it was time for his arc to happen. Doflamingo's power is the mastery and manipulation of strings. He can make strings, control people with strings, cut through practically anything with his strings, fly with strings, make his strings have heat properties. He can even heal wounds with his strings. It's insane how powerful Doflamingo is. There's even another layer of power to him that hasn't been shown in this series yet, awakenings. Through intensive training and mastery, Doflamingo has the ability to turn the environment itself into strings. I don't even have any words on that. It brings a new layer of lore and combat to the series that many thought that they understood already. But now for his accomplishments. As a child, Doflamingo was a celestial dragon, but hated his dad for giving up the royal power. After awakening his haki during his own execution at the age of, 10? Doflamingo killed his father and went off to start his own crew, become a pirate, and get back into his holy land. But after he got rejected by the Celestials, Doflamingo decided a different approach, and through his means knows the dark secrets of the Celestial Dragons, basically making them, of all people, his blackmailing puppets. Now Doflamingo had to live on the human plane while still having access to royal powers, and make a name for himself. And of course, Pirate King had a nice ring to it. On his journey, he met his brother again, and the two searched for the Opi no fruit. Rather than giving the full story on that, I'll cut to the chase and say that Dofi killed his brother himself, and again, one of the most tragic scenes in the series. After that, Doflamingo decided to then take over the country and rule it as its rightful king. After a game of manipulation, Doflamingo ruled the kingdom of Dressrosa and continued to do so until he was beaten by Luffy. Doflamingo is a perfect villain to Luffy. He's a true opposite to Luffy's character and also has a personal connection to Law, which opened up a lot of character development for both of them. It also allowed Doflamingo to show his more sadistic royal side, a side that was truly frightening to watch since we weren't sure if someone was going to make it out alive after his little outburst. He also has accomplishments on par or better than other villains in the series. Crocodile wanted to take over a country, Doflamingo beat him there. Blackbeard made a lot of progression in his life, so did Doflamingo. Hell, he started off in a worse environment and made it to the top. The Admirals and CP9 provided satisfying fights while also proving to be powerful. King of Dressrosa has you covered. Doflamingo, until his fight with Luffy, utterly dominates everyone else that comes before him, save Aokiji. For a time, he was believed to be unstoppable, all the way up until Gear 4. Speaking of which, Doflamingo vs Luffy and Law is my favorite fight in the series. Hands down, no contest for me. It's an energized duel that hit all the right notes for me and only got better with time. Doflamingo is a fantastic villain that has a past, great design, great power, intimidation, pushes everyone to the breaking point, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. So, is there any downside to him? Actually, yes, there is one. Can you see it? No? Maybe if I put on this music. Yeah, have you ever noticed that? Doflamingo is literally Frieza when it's time to fight Luffy and Law. Don't believe me? Let's go over the Frieza arc. So, badass renegade side character fights an evil emperor. Renegade thinks he's doing well, but it's revealed that he's outclassed in practically every way. Suddenly, the main hero shows up to fight the evil emperor. They fight for a bit, and while we think they're on par, in reality, the evil emperor is still stronger. So the main hero has to use a transformation, never before seen in the series, to win. This makes the evil emperor go all out, and the two have a climactic duel which ultimately ends with the hero prevailing. And all of this is taking place in an environment that's going to be destroyed thanks to a time limit. And just like in the anime, that time limit just keeps getting longer and longer. Yep, Doflamingo is Frieza. Now that's not necessarily a terrible thing. I mean, if you want to be a great anime villain, Frieza is iconic as it gets. But once you notice it, you tend to keep noticing it, and some of the impact and originality Doflamingo has is lessened. But for me, I don't mind it too much. At the end of the day, Doflamingo is a powerful, cheerfully satanic emperor that has a complete story. When it comes to villains, he's one of the most accomplished and developed, and that's why for me, he is my favorite villain in One Piece. No strings attached.